What's going on, guys? Kyle here for Relentless Hockey, and today we're going to go over the best quick feed drill specifically for defensemen. So if you're a defenseman that's looking to take your game next level, whether it's going from AA to AAA or from junior to pro, all of the levels of the game get faster. And so to really translate your game, you need to be focusing on the quick feed that is going to let you play at that next level. All right, so defenseman, it's all about changing directions today in the modern game. So it's all about how fast can you be able to play, not just linearly, but laterally. And so for all of our drills today, we're really gonna be focusing on that lateral speed. And we wanna focus on a couple of core concepts. Number one, I always wanna be able to play low. And so if you're seeing some of the best defensemen in the game, they're playing super low. Their hips are super low to the ground. And so we wanna mimic that here off ice. We wanna find all the movements here off ice that we'll be able to find on ice later on. So that's number one, is staying nice and low. Number two is staying upright. So we always wanna be able to play upright. Whether we have a play that's coming to us or we have a play that we're dictating, we want to make sure that we're not nice and low. We're actually getting low in our hips but tall in our chest. And then number three is staying light on our toes. And so a lot of defensemen, especially at that lower level, that are struggling to play faster is because they're getting too locked down. They're actually playing nice and low, but they're getting very heavy in their feet. And so we want to kind of find that forward position where we're actually going to be up on our toes. And so we can always find that cut position, but we're always being able to find very light steps here. And so these are the movement patterns that we're going to be focusing on today in that lateral and kind of change of direction movement, but we want to make sure we're always focusing on those three elements. All right, so for our first drill, we're going to be doing a 5-yard shuffle. I'm just going to set my cones 5 yards apart here, and we're going to be focusing, just like the name implies, on shuffling. So we're in a lateral speed here. So I'm getting low and loaded right away. I need to be able to find that position, that athletic position that we're going to be focusing on for the rest of our drills. I have just a shuffle here, and as soon as I hit, I'm making sure that I'm keeping my power low and I'm expressing it out sideways now. So whether I'm loading both in this leg and in this leg, I'm finding a push that's actually going to let me translate all of my speed into a lateral speed the other way. A lot of players, they'll be going through this and they'll find a position where they stand up tall and we've lost all that power. So we need to make sure that as I'm hitting that line, I'm staying low and I'm translating that power out instead of up. Hit this for around 20 seconds, get really dialed in with your movements. All right, our next drill here is a linear figure 8. And so this is the perfect drill for defensemen to start to practice that quick pivot around with their hips. So we're not just going up and planting, coming back. We are actually gonna circle around the cone here with our hips, and we need to find that plant position that translates on that ice where we have that big strong push and all of a sudden we're going backwards. So I'm gonna get set up here on one side of the cone. I have just a sprint out to the opposite side, and then as soon as I come up top here, I have that hip come around and I'm coming right back in. And then I find that same position here, that just like I would on ice where I'm opening up and I'm going back forward. And again, finding that hip position where it's coming around, getting nice and low and then expressing. So we always want to find getting that low position, especially in that translation phase. So as soon as I'm coming up here, if I stand up, I've lost all my speed, and it's easy here to find a position where I would get burned by a player going the other way if I'm standing up tall. Low, I can go anywhere. And so we want to make sure for this entire drill, we're staying nice and low, especially in those transitions. All right, so we've set up a semicircle here with our cones. And so we're going to be doing a drill that is multi-directional here. So we're not just going straight out anytime. We always are focusing on that multi-directional speed. So I'm going to get set up right here in the middle. I'm finding my low and athletic position, and I'm going to be getting out to that cone as fast as I can. Because we're going to make this just a little extra defensive specific here, I'm going to be coming around that cone, always having that fold into the middle and then coming back. So for this case, I'm coming out, I have my hips coming around, I have my fold, and I'm coming right back to the middle. The same thing. I'm coming up to this one, I have my fold back into the middle, and I'm finding my low and athletic position. Same thing this way. And now as I'm going over to my other side, I'm folding into the middle the other way, making sure that I would be getting my feet back to center ice and kind of keeping players on the outside. So we want to pretend here that we are actually having a player that's coming down on us. I need to have that hip come around and I'm coming backwards as fast as I can. This is so essential. When we have that player where we have to translate from forward to backwards and create that gap, we need to find low and loaded positions. So this is a drill we want to go through every one of these cones in one way, take a pause, kind of catch your breath here, and then go back the other way, always staying low. All right, our next drill here is a curvilinear run. So we're gonna be focusing on speed, not in a straight direction, not in a lateral direction, but actually in a semicircle way. So this is so essential for defensemen because a lot of times we have a player that's kind of coming up the half wall and we need to be able to mirror and find an athletic position where if they're cutting back, we are going back. But in our case, we're kind of gonna be pretending that we're mirroring a player in this curvilinear position. So I'm gonna get set up on one end of my cone. I'm facing out to begin with. I'm finding that low and athletic position. And then as soon as I'm ready to rock and roll, I have my full speed out here. I'm coming low and loaded. And then as soon as I hit this cone out, boom, I'm coming back the other way. So this is challenging, right? Because we're not in a straight line. I need to be able to have kind of my upper body and lower body divorce, right? So I wanna make sure that I'm staying nice and tall in my chest, but but I have that lean as well at the same time, right? So we want to make sure that our shoulders are parallel, just like we would be doing a crossover on the ice. We also want to make sure that we're always in a position where we could change directions, right? So pretend here that you actually have a player coming out of that corner and they're cutting back. You want to be able to find that position where you're coming back the other way. And that is essential here. So if you are training with another player or a partner or coach, something like that, you could actually add in a reactive element here where you are coming down, you have your run and they can have a clap or something and boom, you're going back the other way. And then again, another clap and boom, you're going back for the rest of the circle. Stay loaded here, stay fast here, get those feet going. All right, this next drill is specifically for defensemen to focus on their quick feet starts, whether it's going backwards or opening up to go forwards into a corner, something like that. So in my case, I'm gonna get set up here. I'm nice and low and loaded to begin with. And then instead of just going into a straight back pedal, I'm really finding the movement patterns where my hips are coming around. Now on ice, obviously this is a completely different pattern. We have that C push, and then we actually have a bit of a pull back, and we have a couple of crosses. And so we don't wanna mimic that too much here because essentially we can't have that C cut where we're pulling ice back under us, but we can have that movement where we have an aggressive kind of push around and I have that underneath cross and I'm focusing on those strong pushes. So we're gonna be focusing on that. That's our number one, is I'm low and loaded, I have my strong push and I'm coming back around, and then as soon as I've made about 4 or 5 steps where I'm actually going backwards, we're gonna be focusing on an open into a corner or something like that. So this is the perfect drill to kind of have these two different, very specific movements for defensemen, where I have my backwards, I'm coming around, and then I'm pretending as if a puck's being dumped into the corner. I have my back pedal and I'm going out there as fast as I can to get there. And so if you saw, I'm not standing up, and this is so huge for defensemen because a lot of times they have that movement where they've been coming up, it's being dumped in, and then all of a sudden they stand up and they're going to skate. So we want to make sure that as soon as you're ready to go forward, you are low and loaded, boom, and you're taking that speed out directly to the side. All right, so for this drill, we're going to take our transitions for defensemen to the next level. So we're going to be starting with a slight run. This doesn't have to be a full sprint, but we do want to get some speed. And then whether it's a line or a cone or something, we want to be able to hit and then get going backwards as fast as I can. And so that's super important, right? So often that we have a play come forward and then it's a transition and I need to get going backwards again. And then we're going to add in that second layer. So we have our forward to backwards transition, and then we have that corner dump, right? So if it's coming up and I'm coming back here, I get a puck dumped into that corner. I'm staying nice and low and I'm loading up that hip and exploding out there. This is a movement where you can mimic almost the exact movement on ice, where we would have that open hip and that drive out. So this is essential to be practicing this off ice because we can actually mimic that. So I want you to pretend that either you've had that puck that's been going in, or you are actually having a defender that has a little bit of a better gap on you, and you're opening up and you're kind of mimicking them as well. So that's an awesome exercise for defensemen to really challenge a lot of different movement patterns that they're specifically going to see on ice. This is the stuff that you're going to translate. Make sure that you're always staying low, staying loaded, and getting fast. All right, so if you're a defenseman, you have to be focusing on the footwork that actually translates to the ice. And these drills are so valuable. So often we go through a practice, we even go through a skill skate where we're not challenging some of those specific movement patterns and getting really dialed in with them. And so this is the opportunity to really refine your mechanics. We're not going as fast as we can. This isn't just a quick feet ladder drill or anything like that. We're really focusing on getting quicker, getting more loaded, and actually finding the movement patterns so we can refine off ice that will translate on ice. So if you are a defenseman that's looking to take your game to the next level, head over to relentlesshockey.com, where we have tons of different training programs specifically designed for hockey players. Get out there, guys, and get relentless.